Again, my dear sisters and brothers, I don't know if you have experienced something that's very painful. No, I don't know if you have lost something that you really cried a lot. It seems as if you have lost life, you have lost everything, and you have lost every opportunity that you have. Because that's precisely what our gospel is talking about today. For some, probably you would say, Father, what's the problem with a widow losing a son? That's just a normal death. There's nothing very special with that kind of death. But during the time of Jesus, when a widow would lose their only son, that's a terrible experience. Why? Because a widow who has lost a husband would actually lose that opportunity to have an income. That means she would become very, very poor. And poverty is difficult. But this time it's more painful because the widow who probably was only relying on her son again lost that chance to have some economic support. Imagine losing everything that you have and you'd become the poorest among the poor. That's a terrible experience. And that's why today our gospel is presenting to us two encounters, two processions. The first procession that we should notice in the gospel today is the procession that brought life. It's a procession that brings life. And what kind of procession is that? That's the procession together with Jesus, the disciples, and many people. If you are with Jesus, you are sure that life will sprout. If you are with Jesus, you are very sure that you will experience life. There was joy, there was hope, there was celebration because Jesus was around with the group that they had. But on the other hand, at that time, there was a procession that brought about death, brought about darkness. Why? Because a mother lost her only son. Not just losing her only son, she also lost her very source of living. And that is the very reason precisely why Jesus had pity on the woman in the gospel. Kaawa-awa yung babae doon. She was not just a widow. She lost everything. Because in some instances, you would say, wala, Father, that's just nothing. That's just ordinary death. We would all die. We have to accept death. But the experience of the widow is different. Jesus, in his mercy and compassion, did not truly turn a blind eye to the suffering of a mother who is also a widow. She was not just a mother. She was also a widow. And being a widow would mean that you will have nothing, no support, no money, no job. That's why Jesus restored the life of the son of that widow so that she will have life. Now, if we look at it closely, the restoration of the life of the son was not just an ordinary restoration, was not just an ordinary bringing of a life back, but Jesus restored the life of a son because Jesus knew fully well that a son fully alive would give again an economic help to a mother who has lost already her husband. And what's the lesson that we can learn from today's gospel, my dear sisters and brothers? If you are suffering right now, if you are experiencing misery, never lose hope, because we have always a God who will take charge of us. Perhaps some of you would say, Father, but my experience is quite different. It's quite difficult to understand how I will be able to recover from the misery, from the loss that I am having. Don't you worry. Jesus would never turn a blind eye on all your sufferings as long as he will see that you deserve his mercy and compassion. Kaya my dear brothers and sisters, today whatever you may be experiencing right now, believe that a light is waiting for you, and you must just learn how to hope, because God would always give hope to those who have lost everything. Pray, hope, and don't worry, as Father Pio would say, because God is never and would never fail all of us who hope in Him. Through the intercession of Saint Cyprian and Cornelius and our Blessed Mother, may we learn how to hope as we celebrated yesterday, the Feast of Our Lady of Sorrows. May in all our sorrows, in all our miseries, may we continue to see that there is a God who would never forsake us and who would never leave us in every experience of suffering that we are having.